changed my life. Hey, it's Imani from Quality Cup Life, and today we are talking about how Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life. This book is so popular, so very popular. Everybody talks about it. This book has kind of opened up the minds and the eyes of financial literacy and why people are rich and why some people are poor and all these things. And maybe you can do the same for you. So I'm just going to talk about my personal experience. Before we get into it, what's in my cup today is coffee. I love coffee, but I remixed it a little bit and spiced it up. I have cacao, organic cacao powder and cinnamon on the top with some almond milk vanilla flavored creamer. Ooh. So the first way that Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life was it made me realize why so many people get stuck in the lower and middle class. In the book, Robert talks about how the lower class buys liabilities instead of assets, and then the middle class buys liabilities that they think are assets. They trade their time for money. So whenever you clock in at a job, whoever it is whoever's paying you, they're paying you for your time so that way they can get it back, so that way they don't have to do that particular task. So think about that. The lower and middle class, they tend to work solely for money and without intentionally going and working on a particular skill. All these things, and it made so much sense to me. I was like, oh, so that's what they're doing, because people don't teach you this stuff. Well, at least I wasn't taught any of this stuff. Another reason that I found from the book about why lower and middle class people get stuck where they're at and then can never get to rich or wealthy is because when they don't believe that they can be or have something, they kind of cut their brain off and they don't think, well, how can I do this? How can I get there? It's just like, oh, can't afford it, and that's it. It's not how Robert talks about in the book, how can I afford it? The second way it changed my life is he talks about in the book how there's different types of income. And Robert Kiyosaki talks about, particularly there's three types. There's earned income, there's portfolio income, and passive income. Earned income gets taxed around 40%, which is a lot. That's almost half of your check. So think about that. That's a lot of money. And then there's portfolio income. Portfolio income gets taxed around 20%, and that's significantly lower. And at least by portfolio income, you don't actually have to be there and to do anything. The third type of income is passive income. Depending on how you do it and how you set it up, you can get, he claims, as low as 0% on taxes, and that saves you a ton of money that you would never be able to save with earned income, especially since, you know, they take it out of your check before you even get the paper check or hits the account. That money is gone. It's gone. So think about that. The third way that Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life is Robert Kiyosaki talks about in the book how important it is to mind your own business. And he's talking particularly about building your asset column. When I first read this book, I was like, what the heck is an asset? I didn't know what is that? Like, asset, can you explain further? Asset is what puts money into your pocket. Liability takes money out of your pocket. I'm going to read this quote for you, and I thought this was brilliant. The quote says, most people work for everyone but themselves. They work first for the owners of the company, then for the government through taxes, and finally the bank that owns their mortgage. Crazy, right? Made my mind go. And then the last quote I have strictly from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, it says that the poor and middle class buy luxuries with their own sweat, blood, and children's inheritance. I was like, take me out. That's crazy, man. The fourth way that Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki changed my life, he talks about the philosophies of his two different dads, his poor dad, which was his actual dad, and his rich dad, which was his best friend's dad. And he had to choose. He had to go home to hear his poor dad, his actual dad, complain about how he can't afford this and money doesn't grow on trees and, oh, they fired me from the school, whatever. Like, just completely dependent on other people to give him opportunities and things like that. His dad worked really hard, but that wasn't enough to keep him afloat. And then his rich dad taught another kind of philosophy, and he had to choose which one would he listen to, which way would he go, which path is he going to take, right? That goes for life situations in general. You have to choose which path you're going to take. You need to look at the results of what people are getting, or where does this path lead? What's at the end of the rainbow? And if that isn't if those aren't the kind of results that you want, then choose another path. And then the fifth way that Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life, it was the beginning of me learning about financial literacy and what is that? What is a financial literacy? I never heard of those words before I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Never heard of it. Didn't know what an asset, liability, none of that. I've never heard anybody talk about that. Or maybe I have and I just don't remember, but I was so unaware before reading this book. And it changed my whole entire mindset, I kid you not. And I thought this book was so phenomenal that I blew through this book, and I still go through it. And then I also picked up Cash Flow Quadrant. I finished this one, and it talks about the 4 different types of classes. There's the employed, self-employed, investor, and then a business owner. And then Retire Young, Retire Rich. I'm halfway through the book. It talks about the kind of mentality basically you have to retire young and retire rich. I would totally recommend it to anyone. I don't know if it'll change your life like it changed mine, but I pray that you at least investigate. Even if you don't read it, I pray that you take some of these principles from me, from what I say here at QCL, and apply them, or at least think about them, contemplate them. Other book summaries on YouTube. There's the audio book here on YouTube, so check it out. Thank you so much for watching. If there's anything you have learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad or any one of his other books, comment down below. Maybe there's something that you got from it that I missed, or maybe there could be some people in the comment section who could glean from what you have to say. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.